John H. Patterson was a Daytonian, and he was born not too very far from where we're standing. And he had a number of careers before becoming an entrepreneur. He worked on the Miami-Dade Canal as a toll collector. He owned a coal supply store here in Dayton, and he also owned a company in Southeast Ohio that sold coal and miners' supplies. And all of that gave him the background that formed some of the innovations that came out of his company, the National Cash Register Company. And in the early 1880s, when he owned the company in Colton, Ohio, in Southeast Ohio, he purchased a cash register sight unseen from an ad in a magazine for $50. New invention, very expensive. In today's dollars, that's a little over $1,100 for a piece of equipment. He purchased it because his receipts were not matching the cash in the drawer at the end of the day. And almost immediately, he turned all the losses around and started making money. So in 1884, they purchased the National Manufacturing Company for $6,500. John H. Patterson created the market for the cash register where none existed in a variety of ways. He was very canny at marketing, and so he would advertise to the butcher specifically the benefits that this would have for his butcher shop. Or if you ran a saloon, you got a piece of marketing material that talked about the benefits that this cash register would do for your saloon. So he was kind of a genius in that targeted direct advertising, what we now call junk mail. Patterson was the inventor, if you will, of the cash register receipt. And not only did Patterson advertise to the merchant that this will benefit you, but he also advertised to the consumer that you need to shop at a store that issues a receipt so you know that you were not taken advantage of. So he kind of played them off of each other to help create that market. Along with creating the market, one of the absolute business innovations that comes out of John H. Patterson and the National Cash Register Company is the professionalization of sales. In the late 1800s, salesmen were shady characters. They were traveling from town to town and not trusted. And so one of the things that Patterson did was professionalize sales. And he did that by specifically writing down the script that all sales agents for National Cash Register Company had to use. And it was very specific as to how the prospective purchaser should be shown the cash register, what the sales agent should talk about, even down to when you talk about the indicator, you point to the indicator, and every sales agent had to have it memorized. And if you didn't have it memorized, you were not going to sell cash registers for National Cash Register or John Patterson for very long. So that creating the professionalization of sales, he was very innovative. He gave guaranteed territories to his sales agents. And initially on starting the company, they couldn't afford to pay their sales agents, so they gave them a commission. And that was all those sales training, guaranteed territory, and commission were all brand new. And those are some of the innovations that come out of NCR in the late 1800s. But a lot of what John Patterson did was eventually copied by other companies around the world. And not just that, so many people who worked for Patterson went on to other fields that by 1930, 1/6 of all the company executives in the country had trained in some form or another under John Patterson. In the late 1890s, Patterson became an innovator in the area of employee welfare. And in 1895, what started that was a $50,000 cash register order came back from England as defective. So in order to figure out what might have caused this, Patterson moved his desk to the factory floor. And he realized very quickly that the conditions were very typical for the time, but they were also not conducive to productivity and good employee morale. Factories were dark, they were not not a lot of fresh air. And so immediately he started instituting policies. From that point on, any new factory building was built with 95% glass in the windows. Basically the curtain window of today goes back to that time period. These were to allow fresh light in, but also they could open to allow fresh air in. And initially when he started these welfare efforts, he was kind of derided by other manufacturers that he was too soft on his employees, but he felt that an increase in morale would pay for itself hands over in the increase in productivity, and he was absolutely right. John Patterson was so impactful because the force of his personality. He was, I've heard him described as a benevolent dictator, and he kind of had a my way or the highway way of doing things, but he took care of his employees, he made his company thrive, and he also applied some of those concepts to the community at large. He was very much, let's improve Dayton, because improving Dayton is good for the company, and kind of felt that his employees should own their own homes, the community should beautify itself and clean up those back factory yards that were so just disgusting, and just take care of Dayton, because a happy Dayton is good for business. We're standing right now in the cash register exhibit of the Heritage Center for Manufacturing and Entrepreneurship here at Carillon Historical Park. And what we've done here is we've assembled 90 cash registers that show the beauty and the artistry of the cash register from 1879 up till about 1922, which is the period that John H. Patterson, the founder of the National Cash Register Company, was running the company. The idea behind the Heritage Center of Manufacturing and Entrepreneurship was to show the stories that come out of Dayton that have national and international impact. And NCR has a more than 125-year history of innovation, starting with perfecting the cash register and the market for it, all the way up to the present day of software solutions and self-checkout systems and electronic signature capture. It's a wide range of things that are still coming out of NCR to this day. And what we tried to do here was just show some of those innovations. We've got, obviously, the cash registers. We've got a lot of early business machines that NCR produced when they started to diversify. The ATM comes out of NCR and Dayton, the self-checkout, and we've just tried to, through photographs and artifacts, show the range of innovation that have come out of this city and the companies that were located here. John H. Patterson is a very intriguing character, and I would use the word character. His personality, I think, is part of why he was so successful, because he was very driven, and he didn't take no for an answer. And it really does come down to that take no prisoner, my way or the highway way of business that he had. He turned a company that manufactured a product that no one needed into a company that's still around 125 plus years later.